BRB UK. Worse teeth, better accents.
Hello, and indeed ahoy, ahoy. Welcome to episode 486 of BRB UK. Welcome. Hi. Yes, you in the back. Yes, you. You next to... Stop touching that, all right? I'm talking to you, Timothy. Timothy.
Okay.
We can't see your hands on the video, all right? And you're looking pleased with yourself. There we go. That's better. That's better. How are you doing, Timothy?
Yeah, all good. It's like, coming up to the Easter weekend means I get a 4-day holiday, which is officially my second longest holiday of the year, and I'm very much looking forward to this.
Excellent. Good. Well, we get all of the holidays this year. Not only is it Zombie Jesus, for those of you who are not Easter inclined, it's Zombie Jesus Stuff Your Face with Chocolate weekend. We also have the glory of old lady has sat on a chair for a really long time, super long weekend in the summer. Jubilee, Tim. Platinum Jubilee.
Right.
Queen.
Okay.
Talking about the Queen.
Yes,
Yep.
Queen, head of state. You might have heard of her.
Yeah, I thought you were segueing to Coleman's birthday, and then that went a bit awry. But yeah, Coleman got older this week as well, is the other thing that happened.
Hi, Coleman. Happy Coleman Day.
Hi. Technically, we get older every day.
This is true, but this is a whole year of getting older in one go.
Got a calendar year older.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get any nice prezzies, Coleman?
I got this watch. A very nice watch.
Ooh, is that a Galaxy watch?
No, it's a Fossil.
It's a Fossil watch.
6.
Very nice. Have you turned it into the Division watch you always wish you had?
I have.
Good. What I like. What I
Good.
like to hear. That's a very nice present. Aren't you a lucky boy?
Got a nice little Macho Man face where his eyes are the clock. That's a pretty good one. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're going nowhere.
Do you want me to send you the Coleman Macho Man sunglasses image? For
Yes,
your...
please.
All right, okay, I'll do that. I will do that.
Always.
If you're not, especially since you're never going to pick up Roddy Gran Turismo.
I need that for a future project.
Yeah, okay. Oh, God. It better not be you making personalised Y-fronts. That's all I'm going to say.
No, never again.
Your poor missus, you're going to rock into the bedroom, point at them and go, oh, yeah.
I've been told not to blow my money into any other business ventures like that since I lost all my money on apes.
On apes?
Yeah, not the NFTs, just throwing money at apes.
Monkeys. Just see what happens.
Yeah.
Why are you throwing money at monkeys, Coleman?
Making it rain at London
something
Zoo,
to do?
yeah?
Not really sure where I was going with this.
All right, okay, but that's why I'm pressing you on the matter, because I had a feeling that might...
You know the thing with monkeys and typewriters, and they could
Yes.
type out the words of Shakespeare if you get enough of them, that theory. I just figured,
Right,
apes
were you saying if you throw enough money at simians, one of them's going to give you a lap dance? Is that where we're going with
No,
this?
I assumed if I chucked all my cash at an ape in the zoo and then gave
Right.
him a copy of the Financial Times and some stock tips and stuff, and then give him my money, then maybe he'll make me a millionaire.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't you find
Okay.
throwing the 1p coins at them just them off, though?
Yeah, that's why I'm not allowed back at the zoo.
Well, there we go. See, it all makes sense now. All makes sense. Little self-contained little story.
I said,
Man,
get out of here.
you monkey botherer.
You penny throwing monkey.
Monkey botherer.
Sod.
You monkey troubler.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yes. So rest
That's
the
what it
defense,
says on
my
the court
lord.
documents.
Well, that was my weekend. How was yours, Tim?
Yeah,
Yes,
all good.
because
all
Tim,
good.
when I think PC gaming,
Yes.
the image of you comes to mind, furiously
That's not true.
trying to work out why W means Ford. I think is really what I think. Is it that would you could spend a whole weekend trying to work that out?
And not manage it. Well, what we're alluding to there is this last weekend, and I did actually go on the Friday rather than the Saturday, and then had to work Saturday to kind of make up for
A
it.
thrilling detail to open the gate with, can I just say?
Just, I'm still unsure about going to in-person events. This is the first one I attended, generally because it's the spiritual successor to one of my favourite events of the year. And for anyone who doesn't know, we did allude to
Did they
this a
not
bit,
get your
or speak
rider?
about it last week. But basically, it's an event called WASD, and it's kind of the spiritual successor to Rezzed, but it's as WASD would indicate, and as Dan has already kind of alluded to, that would hint at a PC-focused event, and that is very much the case. Although I will point out that I think there was only one, maybe 2 occasions where I actually had to WASD to play on a game. Every other thing, I'm pleased to report as a console gamer, had a controller option available, and I took that option where available. Not every setup had, but most games had at least one option with a controller.
I hope they ejected you from the event.
Is it me or was there... Anytime Tim says WASD, it sounds a bit pervy.
WASD.
Was D. Just
It's
gonna
probably
leave that
you.
there.
You know, I do excite you, Coleman, so I can understand that. So, you know. But
What?
Yeah. But anyway,
I have never once seen Coleman look excited in the vicinity of you.
Goodbye, horses.
Wow.
But yeah, anyway, the event itself
Wow, Tim.
was first in-person event I've gone to since COVID times. I did take every precaution
We've heard,
I could.
yes.
I did a test
I have a
the day
question.
before, was negative, yes.
What other precautions did you take? Did you wear
Drinking
gloves?
hand sanitizer.
I literally just started saying when you interrupted me, but I did a
Well,
test
so
the
because
day
you've
before,
got a lag of about 4
which
hours.
was negative. I then made sure I bought even more hand sanitizer than usual and used it even more often than I normally do at these events. These type of events were the only events
I have
where
a
I
question.
used hand sanitizer prior to COVID times anyway. But yeah, extra made sure that I did that. Took some of my own food, although I ended up eating there as well. And yeah, generally masked up the whole time I was at the event as much as possible.
I have a question.
Yes.
Measures that to encourage social distancing included wandering around wearing nothing but your pants. Is it true that that is a measure you engaged in just for and giggles?
Well, yes. I mean, that's kind of,
Good.
what I'm used
Excellent.
to from playing Elden Ring these days. Just walking around in my pants with
What,
a
you
big
just sit
massive
there?
sword.
Right, okay, so sitting there getting beaten up whilst wearing nothing but your
And then at
pants.
some point
Yeah.
he says, well, maybe I should put some clothes on and go to work.
But yeah, like as I said, it's a bit of a weird one at the moment. The other thing I did deliberately was move things around at work so that I could go on the Friday when it was a little bit quieter. That had the doubly effect of if I was only able to go for one day, I could actually get round to see a little bit more. But also just on the safety side of things, less crowds, less people. Yeah, so I can't talk as to how crowded it was on the Saturday, which is usually the main day for us. I keep on saying this event when it was previously rezzed, but yeah, it's organised by some of the same people that used to work for EGX and ReadPop and now have gone out and done their own thing, and this is their own independent event. This is the first one, but as I said, it very much felt like a spiritual successor to Rezzed, and that's a very good thing for me because it's an event I really enjoy. I really like the setup. It's a similar setup to before, a little bit smaller than it had been in previous Rezzed. Most of the actual gaming stuff was contained on the
Is
top
that because
floor.
it was further away, though?
It was in the exact same place, Tobacco Dock.
Yeah, exactly the same place, Tobacco Dock, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm just going for the joke. God
I
damn it.
know,
I know.
but it's funny that
But
it
it
can't be
didn't
the
work.
joke because of the same location.
But, never mind.
But then, yeah,
Trying.
they had some stuff downstairs, but I think it was mainly like organizational stuff and not actual like game displays and stuff. But there was actually a surprising amount there. I actually had a hard time in the day that I was there. I had a hard time getting around and playing everything that I wanted to the point where I missed out on a few things that I'd made a note to go and actually try and play. Like, for instance, I didn't play anything that Team 17 had there, and they had like Marauders and a few other things which looked interesting. And I didn't get a chance to play them. I did find them fairly late in the day, but then didn't get a chance to jump in on them. There was quite a few other things where...
Did they have any NFT
was-
generators?
No, but there was quite
Oh, shame.
a few other studios where there were 2 or 3 games I really wanted to check out, and I only got a chance to check out one of them. But yeah, like I could have definitely done with 2 days there, especially as one of the things I really like to do is the whole Curios section, which seemed to have some really weird, wacky games in it. I've seen some brilliant stuff in there before, which has always been interesting to me. But I didn't even get a chance to make it to that section this time, basically. So,
I have a question.
yep.
What's the difference between Curios and Curios? Because I think they might be the same thing, and this might be a Tim pronunciation language barrier thing.
That could be the case.
Curios are like unusual little things that you find. And
I thought they were cereal.
No, that's Cheerios, mate.
Cheerios.
4 grain rice.
It's Cheerios.
Whole grain rice and
They also have wheat.
They not too sweet.
They also have Wheatios at the convention, which is the same as Cheerios, but the taste of chocolate.
Are you in the know about Cheerios? Cheerios.
Yeah, I don't eat wheat.
Good.
You don't eat wheat. Well, wheat doesn't like you either, Timothy.
Nope.
He takes
wheat
wheat,
don't like me.
explodes.
I don't like wheat.
Serious
what I did like, though, was a number of the games I got to play at the event. So I won't go through everything because there's quite a lot and I don't want to hog the airwaves for the whole week. But I will talk about...
Yes, that would be unlike you, wouldn't it, Tim?
Hopefully try and get through half of the games and then I'll do the second half of the games next week, basically. So we'll see how we do on that one. But yeah, first up, this is a bit unfairly weighted in one, but I know there's one of these games that Coleman's particularly interested in listening to the opinion about, and so I'm going to go a bit Devolver Digital heavy.
That's
to
Arcade
start with.
Paradise.
Well, that one's what you might be interested in as well. But yeah, I'm going to go a bit Devolver Digital heavy to start with because they had a few games there, 3 of which I got to play, and 2 of which I'm really looking forward to, and 1 I will happily play when it's on Game Pass. But yeah, I don't know if all 3 of these are coming to Game Pass. I know that Trek to Yomi is coming out shortly to Game Pass. That's one that
very soon.
Yeah, is out in the next couple of weeks. So I was glad I got a chance to play it early just to have a quick look at it. But for anyone, I swear this was announced at a PlayStation style state of play or something. But then it subsequently has been talked about as though. Okay, but it was talked about coming to Game Pass. That's been previously announced. It's a black and white, side-scrolling, hack and slash, samurai-themed, very evocative of Kurosawa. You know, been cited as a reference point for quite a few video games recently, Ghost of Tsushima being one of them. This is something that's even more evocative of that. You're kind of in the level, at least that they showed off, you're battling your way through a small village and very focused on kind of very deliberate movements. You kind of have to take a defensive kind of approach to it. Lots of parrying and blocking at the right time to parry and then attacking when you've got an opening. And you can learn like when certain enemies when certain enemies are just open to some of your attacks anyway. And I found a good tactic was just generally to time the big heavy slash quite well rather than trying to go for rapid quick attacks. But yeah,
an essential in any trip out, timing the big heavy slash.
It's a bit unforgiving. There are like checkpoints through the level, and once you get through one area, you will go back to that checkpoint and then have to get through subsequent series of screens to get to the next checkpoint. And clearing often multiple enemies on the way. I really liked it. It was quite hard. I don't know if it will be slightly easier when playing at home without the distractions of everything else going on, but I sense it's going to be quite a hard, unforgiving game anyway. Yeah, I do slightly worry about my my overall patience with that, possibly. Like, I can see it being a game that I really like, but sometimes frustrates me in the similar manner to Sifu of recent games.
Yeah, and that's what it's been likened to, is the kind of Sifu and the Souls-like type of difficulty in this, but as it's done in the 2D side-scrolling style, that appeals to me a bit more, I think, even though I really like Sifu.
I mean, the way you've described it almost takes me back many years. Old man Dan's going to tell you a cool story now, kids. So
go on then.
Strap in.
Once upon a time, I was on the television on a game called Games World.
That wasn't where I was going, but thank you, Coleman, for eat my dust. Yes, no, eating. You'll be eating my dust. Eating my dust. Not eat my dust. Eating my dust. All right.
Eating my dust.
Thank you, Coleman. Anyway, this almost reminds me of kind of the way you're describing it. Like, do you remember playing back in the day Prince of Persia for the first time and the sword fighting in that, where it all was about not just spamming the attack, but watching what your opponent was doing and responding to that, as opposed to it just being a hammer the stabby button and profit? I quite like that. The fact that it is
Yeah.
that you've got to read what your enemies are doing to kind of to improve your own abilities. I quite like that. Although I have heard that the build that was on show at WASD evidently needed a little bit more spit and polish, though, in terms of controls.
Ugh.
A couple of places have said that's why you have to sanitize Coleman. Which is not unsurprising for a pre-release build game.
Yeah. I that's something I would expect to be polished out a bit by the time we get the actual finished game out. There was a couple of times where I was like, I'm sure I pressed that in time, but nothing that I was like majorly, well, that is definitely the game's fault rather than mine. It definitely felt like, okay, I know what I did wrong there. I need to go back and do that better. And yeah, other than being a bit unforgiving and possibly being a bit frustrating as a result, it's a game that I was looking forward to, that I'm looking forward to just as much, if not more, having played some of it. So that's a definite recommend when it's coming out to Game Pass. If you don't have access to Game Pass, I think it's going to be one worth purchasing as well. So that's definitely one to look out for in the very near future.
As it is more of an indie type title, and it's a cheaper price title than your average AAA or anything that's out there. So it's it'd be okay to take. It wouldn't sting you as much to take a punt on it and it have some teething problems early on. However, because it is launching on Game Pass, that is the perfect opportunity to go, I'm gonna try this. Is it broken on release, or am I gonna like it, or is it gonna be too hard, and find out what Game Pass is basically the new version of a demo.
Or,
a demo
or
that
early
you pay
access
for,
type stuff as
which
well.
is what PlayStation's doing. Yeah.
But as I said, definitely one to look forward to. Another one that I'm looking forward to, that I was kind of already looking forward to, by Devolver Digital, Cult of the Lamb. I did get a picture with the mascot as well. My new best friend.
That's not all that bad.
Oh,
Did you get it? Did it? Bad.
It's good.
I thought so.
It's good.
Nice.
Daniel, you in for a beating?
Yes, I am.
This is, again, a game that was announced, I think, on one of the kind of state of play type things, or it might be the Idea Xbox one that this was announced at previously.
I think it was announced on Nintendo Direct.
It might have been, yep. It's definitely of the kind of darker themed thing going on. It's a kind of isometric third-person hack and slash type thing again. Kind of reminds me of Death's Door, I think it was, that was out recently.
Yeah.
And Hades and Tunic to a lesser extent. And games of that sort of ilk.
But it's taking all those games and wrapping them in the Christmas critters from South Park kind of atmosphere.
Kind of that feel. It's got a kind of dark-esque, religious fanatic Cult of the Lamb as the name of the game kind of but a cult theme running through it, where you are literally a little lamb character and trying to get other people to join up to your new religion, basically.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, and it's kind of very dark humoured, but like very fluffy and cutesy with it type of thing.
The organised religions do that.
Yeah, one kind of seems very like out of keeping with the other, but yeah, it kind of works really nicely and really, really well. One of the central mechanics is that as you're adding more people, that you kind of go out into the world and explore, and then get into combat, and then you'll rescue a person that can then become one of your followers.
Okay.
And yeah, that then adds to your there's a screen that you go, not a screen, but like an area away from that you can add those people to, and kind of it seems that was something you could level up and add people to, and then they'll add more to your kind of home base type area type thing. Obviously, I didn't get to see how that developed too much as it was going, but the minute-to-minute gameplay and the kind of hack and slash type stuff felt quite tight, and yeah, it was really good. The humor was on point, and yeah, as I said, it was a game I was looking forward to going in. I'm looking forward to it even more, having played a bit of it. I think that's going to be a good one to keep an eye out for. That could very much get the same sort of buzz as Hades did, and other games like it have done in the past.
So I have a question.
Yes.
With your flock, because I'm assuming that's where we're going with the lamb.
They haven't
Lamb references
didn't
here.
actually get into that. I don't think they went down that route yet. Maybe because
That's the first time that's even dawned on me.
Yeah.
That's why they pay me no money to come up with good jokes like that. Exactly. With your flock led, so do you like send them out to like other villages to try and convince them that kind of Hibbsism is the way forward?
No.
Do you have to teach them how to? Do you have to develop personality tests to help entice people in?
Even though it's early on story, I'm kind of dodging around a couple of things just to not give too many spoilers. But basically, there's a kind of entity that's encouraging you to sign up to their religion, and you are getting followers to follow that religion, basically.
Okay. So it's not your own personal cult of...
Well, it is, kind of it is and it isn't.
Well,
and as I said, I didn't get to see too much of how that kind of home screen type thing develops as you add more people to it and stuff. I can't remember. I think you got like access to other powers and stuff possibly through that. I may be misremembering that. But that's something that I have to kind of see how that works out a bit better, getting a bit longer into the game. The demo that was available was literally just the first couple of levels and just kind of give you a hint at how that's going to work without actually going into kind of detail of what was there. But yeah, as I said, like, really good humoured, a good strong theme, well applied to the mechanics of the game that I think are going to work well hand in hand with that as well, basically. So yeah, one to definitely watch out for in the future. Not sure when and where that one is coming out. Don't know if someone wants to check such information while I carry into the next one.
Cult of Lamb on Steam. All I've got is a planned release date of 2022, which is as non-specific as they come.
Yeah.
I really like the look of it, but I'm not sure if the gameplay is going to appeal to me too much, but it does look really cool. I mean, the idea of cute evil always works as an aesthetic, so...
Yeah. And yeah, as I said, I definitely think it's one to keep an eye on. I'll be almost certainly playing it on release. I'm not sure when and where it will release. If it comes to Game Pass, obviously, I think all three of us will probably play it. If that comes to something else, I will
Game Pass.
Almost certainly be picking it up just to have a look and then report back to you guys with more findings at the time. But the other one I got to play, and I'll go over this a little bit more quickly, but Shadow Warrior 3 was available to play there.
I thought this was out already.
No.
Not as far as I know. I think it's
I have no idea.
No, it was released. No, it wasn't. You're correct. It was released beginning of March. You are correct, Coleman.
Oh,
okay, I missed it with everything else that's going on. But yeah, okay, I hadn't seen that it released. I played the previous one, I think Shadow Warrior 2 on Game Pass when it came to that. So I'm kind of hopeful that Shadow Warrior 3 will make its way to Game Pass eventually. It's one of those things, I'm not quite so sure. It looks quite nice and it plays reasonably well and it's fun and it's funny. Well, it's silly and funny. And it's one of those things where I like this game and I like having access to playing it, but I'm not sure I would pay vast amounts of money to do so independently of paying for something else. If it comes to a streaming service or PlayStation Now or something, that's fine. But from what I saw, 3 played very much like I remember 2 playing, basically. It just seemed like a bit more of the same, which is not a massively bad thing, but as I said, this feels to me like a very well polished AA game, for want of a better term. It's not quite AAA quality, but it's good and looks okay and plays all right and is funny and kind of has you laughing along with the main character and him being a bit of an idiot. As I said, it seemed like more of the same from 2. It's anyone doesn't know, it's a first-person shooter with a heavy comedy element to it. I think the main character is called Lo Wang, if I'm remembering that correctly. It's some kind of slightly.
I'm guessing some kind of knob joke is involved there.
I think 3D Realms were involved in this initially, so that makes sense.
Right, that would make sense. And yeah, like it's fun and silly, and yeah, played a bit of the level. It seemed fine. It was okay. It was good. I will play more of it if I can get access to it in the future. But as I said, I won't be rushing to the shops for it. But yeah, it's more of the same. If you like that, then you're good.
I think with the Shadow Warrior series of games, it it just tries a bit too hard, you know?
Yeah, that's a bit of the problem.
The thing is, Shadow Warrior, I would have picked up any of the Shadow Warrior games at a certain point in my life. However, that is not now. If it was 1996 still, this is perfect for me because I was way into this kind of shooter, really bad satire, you know, the really kind of puerile humor. Duke Nukem, basically. Anything 3D Realms, I would have gone straight in for.
I mean, I think the spiritual successor to those original games from the late 90s was probably Bulletstorm. Remember that?
Yeah, again, that was one that I would have much preferred in my early teenage years.
Yeah,
rather than
exactly.
in my 20s,
it's kind of like you look at it, and go, that's a thing, and then you sit down in front of it for several hours, and all I can remember is something about dick tits. Is all I can remember.
Well, that said, because I remember you taking offense, Tim, to the I think it was DMC Devil May Cry, and there was just a bit where Dante and the boss just kept saying "F you, no F you, no F you," and you're like, "That's really stupid." I was like,
was that the succubus nonsense?
Yeah, I was like,
the suck you, succubus, you suck. What?
I think the succubus was a different character, but I just remember seeing that and went, I don't know what Tim's moaning about. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, as Dan said, I think in some ways it tries a little bit too hard. That it does feel very 90s in that respect, but I would say, and I'm trying to remember the name of the game, it wasn't Duke Nukem, it was another one of those type of things. Oh, the Serious Sam game that I played recently. I would say that Shadow Warrior is a level above most of the other things trying to do what it is doing as well, basically. Like, it's a level above that Serious Sam game. It's a level above any of the Duke Nukems that have come out recently. I would say it's best in class of what it is trying to do, basically. But in terms of comedic, silly, over-the-top first-person shooter in a very early 90s style, it's probably the best of what it does. But is that enough these days? I'm not sure.
Best game of 96.
Best game of 1996 goes to Shadow Warrior 3. As I said, more of the same, and that will possibly be good enough for some people. The other one I got to play, and I'm going off Devolver Digital onto a couple of the things that I've still saved a few contenders for my game of the show for next week. So there's still like some big games to talk about next week that I'm quite excited to talk about. But a couple more to kind of talk about this week. One, and I'll do fairly quickly because there's not too much to say about it. And I believe it may be out already. And for the main, I stuck to games that aren't out yet. And, you know, I was getting an early hands-on with generally, because I think that's just a more useful thing to do for the show. Friend of the show, Coobs, was one of the people doing the PR for this. So this was a game that I'd been meaning to try at some point, and I don't know when I get a chance. But I got to try Power Wash Simulator.
Oh, this game looks so satisfying.
It looks like both really boring and both like satisfying at the same time. But I can tell you right now, like, as he said, like he said, you'll sit down and the 20 minutes will just evaporate. They'll just disappear. And like he tapped me on the shoulder like 2 minutes later and went, yeah, that was your 20 minutes. So I was like, but I'm only a quarter way through cleaning this church. I need to clean.
Evaporating is technically more of a steam cleaner move than a power washer move, I think you'll find.
This is one that I mean, and there's a similar game that came out a few years ago now, which the name escapes me, but the idea is after the big space marine shooter killing all the aliens and the level's over, you play the cleaner that then goes up and mops up.
Yes.
And this has a similar vibe to that, but it's just pressure washing, and it would normally appeal to me. However, I did buy myself a pressure washer to do the front and back of the house.
So
I have a pressure washer as well. Sorry, come on. We need to have a midlife crisis moment of real talk. I have a Bosch one.
Or I've got the Kärcher K7.
Oh, did you?
Premium.
Look at you with your big money.
And it's so powerful that I need an attachment to use it on the car because it will take the paint off.
Yeah, mine's got that as well.
I did destroy a little bit of the wall outside.
Nice. But it's something just so satisfying with it. And, you know, I think the one thing I've been surprised about since it's out, Power Simulator's out now in early access, I believe, on Steam.
Right, yeah.
It is, as yet, I can't find any hint of a VR mode.
I am surprised about that as well.
You must be burnt.
Yeah, because this just looks like it would be mega satisfying and actually a really good candidate for VR gaming.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I do actually think it needs to be on there. I
just got this image of Tim's missus coming home and he's there in VR and he's just there motionless, absolutely still. What are you doing? Like taking his headphones off. What are you doing? Oh, sorry, I was playing Power Washing Simulator.
No, but of course, the best thing would be that he's in a flat that is just a complete tip. So what are you doing? I'm cleaning stuff up in a video game. What about a front rub?
Actual cleaning.
There was a time where a friend of the show, Rick, came over to see us at Tim's, and he walked in the door, and Tim was there with the VR headset on, and the TV was switched off, and he was just sat there, motionless, just with the controller in his hands, sat there with his VR headset on. He goes, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, he's playing Worms." I didn't know Worms VR. It's not. It just looks so weird. Anyway, Powerwasher, Tim.
Powerwasher, yeah. So, I got to play kind of one level, and as I kind of alluded to, it was like a big church. So, like, it was quite a big building. And kind of cleaning stuff off. And literally, the mechanics are you've got a soap mode type thing where you can soap things up. And then you've got various different nozzles for how you kind of then go about power washing. And you can kind of have a wider nozzle that covers more area or a more kind of direct one which focuses on, little hard to reach spots type thing. And yeah, in the level there was like parts of the environment you could climb to get better access to some of the roof and stuff. So they had like a kind of not quite scaffolding type thing, but that type of thing that was something you could climb up to then get access to be able to spray down on things and spray the front roof of the church and stuff.
A scaffolding thing that isn't quite a scaffolding thing, but it's a scaffolding thing.
Well, it's kind of wooden panelled scaffolding.
Right, scaffolding.
I think that's just still scaffolding. It's just got planks on it.
Yeah. It's kind of a bit fancier than your basic bog standard scaffolding.
Scaffolding.
Really part of the game.
Gussied
I
up
wasn't going to get
scaffolding.
into a whole massive description of it.
No. We're going to investigate. So what elevates a plank and a bit of metal above? What elevates that above being mere scaffolding, Tim?
Do you remember in Rush Hour 2 where they're fighting on the bamboo scaffolding? Is it like that?
Oh.
Is it bamboo
kind
scaffolding?
No, that's OG
lines.
scaffolding though.
But not quite.
Right, okay.
But as that's a very incidental part of a very small part of the game, I wasn't going to mention it much.
When scaffolding has a lift, does that
Look,
make it
we want to know about Scaffolding Simulator, Tim. Will you tell us about Scaffolding Simulator already?
But basically, just to rule a line under it in general, Powerwash Simulator was a very kind of very zen, calming experience that kind of, when you actually like cleared off a section and it kind of flashed up to tell you that, and it kind of gave you the visual clue that you then cleared that section. Very satisfying thing. But also you can just generally see all the dirt and grime coming off things. As I said, I was cleaning a church. The person next to me was cleaning like an RV van. So there's like various different like vehicles and buildings and other things that you can wash in the game.
And the fact, Tim, that it allowed you to enter such a zen-like state where you were contemplating the philosophical question, what makes scaffolding scaffolding? I just think just speaks volumes as to kind of, frankly, the chill vibes that this game gives you.
I know you only had the one day there, Tim, but is it too early to say that this was your game of show?
A bit too early. We'll reveal that next week. As I said, there's other contenders coming next week as well. So, yeah. Right. But, that's, as you said, out now, I believe, on early access on Steam, I think.
Nice.
And, it's by Future Lab. So go and check that out at some point. Crying out for a VR conversion, but we'll see if we actually get one or not. But, hey.
Powerwash Simulator on Steam.
The last one I'll talk about this week is the golf game that I finally remembered the name of, having now played it, which we were trying to remember because there was quite a few golf games on the list of games that they were showing off that were playable
Curse to Golf
at WASD. And the one that I couldn't remember the name of last week, which was the one I was looking for, was Cursed Golf. It's
I'm
by
pretty sure we
Thunderful
said
Games.
Cursed Golf.
Did I say that last week? I couldn't remember. I didn't think I remembered.
I'm pretty sure we did. And I'm pretty sure I listed it, and you went, "Yeah, but there's a golf game I really want to play." I was like, "Is it Cursed
sure
Golf?" And you went, "No, it's something else." I reckon I did.
Anyway,
oh wow! God, the love of God! Let him
Don't
talk
make me
about
check the tape, Tim.
He has
Well,
enough trouble getting to the point as it is already. Don't start. You've started him off now, Coleman. Look what's happened.
Tim, is it Cursed Golf? No, it's definitely not that one. You see, I checked the tape. It was definitely that. That's what I said.
Well, if you've checked, I look like a fool now. But anyway, yeah. So Cursed Golf is
just not for that reason.
Side-scrolling, almost platformer, but kind of you're golfing to move through platforms. It's kind of like a golf game, obviously, but there's a few wrinkles and things that are different. To start off with, the first thing is you're dead, basically. You get when not you, the person in the game. But when you are just about to win a golfing tournament, you get struck by lightning and get sent to golf purgatory. But the good thing is that you can play your way out of trouble, although apparently no one has done before. But as you're a good golfer, you are confident that you can do so. Yes?
Is golf purgatory just getting stuck in the sand trap?
Yes.
Wow.
That's all my knowledge from Wii Golf, as you were.
But yeah, it's a kind of path-solving golf-themed platformer almost kind of thing. But you are just, teeing off to get from one position to another. But there are obstacles in your way and various different things. You've also got some powers to help with those obstacles. So one of the powers was just like give yourself an extra shot because you have a limited par to get through the hole. But you can increase that par, one by power, and also by like hitting through these kind of statue type things that give you more shots if you hit them as you're making your way through the level. Then there's other powers which help you get through some of the obstacles, like there was a load of TNT that was all blocking one path, and you had to kind of lob your way into that hole while choosing the power that allowed you to explode all the TNT boxes, and then that allowed you to get through that and bypass a load of other stuff that would have taken you more shots to get through, basically. And yeah, like it seemed very funny, very fun. A good one I think it's going to be a particularly good one for playing on the go, so on the Switch, or possibly on Coleman's Razer Kishi, or just generally on Game Pass and stuff like that on the go.
You can get your own Kishi, you don't have to play mine.
I'd rather play yours, Coleman, it's free.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, like it's...
bloody typical. Classic Hibbs move.
Easy to pick up and play, would be a good one for the commute and stuff like that as well. Good humoured. Like, I don't know if I'm just drawn to playing this on the Switch a bit more because of like Golf Story and having enjoyed games like that on the Switch before. And Wasteland Golf, which is another one I'll give a shout out to, which this very much reminded me of in some ways, although they're similar in gameplay and like it being a side-scrolling golfing game, but the aesthetics of both of them are quite different. This is a bit more cartoony. Cursed Golf, that is a bit more cartoony and a bit more kind of chibi type style characters type thing.
Chibi?
I believe that's the right term.
Shibba.
So yeah, kind of
right.
diminutive and cutesy, basically.
Chibi. Like pop figures.
Yeah, that type of thing. And yeah, like again, it was a game that I was looking forward to going into this and didn't disappoint me at all. Pretty much did exactly what I was expecting with no real deviation from what I was expecting. But I like what I saw. Again, good humoured, good fun game. One that I'm definitely looking forward to from now on, basically. So yeah, as I said, I've got some more games to talk about next week. I did get to play, quite a few things all in all. But yeah, really enjoyed WASD overall is something I'll definitely say. It's weird in COVID times, but I'm hopeful that by the time this comes around again next year, we'll be in a better place, maybe, hopefully. And yeah,
Spain.
No, it'll only be a nuclear apocalypse next year. It'll be fine.
Right, fine. So yeah, like
when you say a better place, are we all moving to Gosport?
Or well, Tobacco Dock. We can all go to Tobacco Dock next year, Coleman. But the venue also lends itself generally to being good, and that's the other reason I was encouraged to go, because it's half outside, and so there are large outside areas, and airflow was a bit better and stuff like that as well. That also
it does tend to be better outside.
Yeah, I trusted the providers of the show to at least kind of do things sensibly. There was a lot of hand sanitizer, like on almost every stand and stuff as well. So, like,
what was your favourite flavour of it?
Strawberry, definitely. But yeah, like,
nice.
Just generally, it felt like a good event.
I like new car smell.
I haven't heard of there being any major outbreaks afterwards, like there was at GDC and stuff like that of COVID. So it seems to be one that was run reasonably well. Which, again, I trusted the people to do, which was something that encouraged me along to the event. So definitely one for other people to look out for in the future, especially if you were a fan of Rezzed. But yeah, generally good, a good event to go to. And I'll have some more games that I talked about last week. And yeah, a few of those I'm really excited to talk about. They just
Don't you threaten us.
to be the way I broke them up last week. Pretty much not quite in the order I played them, because the Devolver Digital stuff I played a bit later in the day. But other than that, almost in the order I played.
Do you want some news?
Please.
Lovely. So as we all know, it was the 20th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts. I'm sure you two were both very excited.
Oh yeah.
God.
I love me some Mickey and
I
Goofy.
cannot understand. I just do not understand why that's even a thing, that series. But anyway.
That time that me and you were watching the Square Enix presser, Tim, and you saw the whole Kingdom Hearts Frozen Let It Go sequence, and then I explained to you that there is a scene where Donald thinks Goofy died.
Yep.
And he's there going, oh, he's like crying away going, oh, Goofy. So I know Tim's a big fan of Kingdom Hearts now.
I mean, look.
Anyway.
Right, you say you can't see the appeal though, Dan, but it's literally JRPG
I
plus
genuinely
Disney
can't.
characters.
Right.
Like that's an easy sell to a lot of people.
It's
okay.
I can
well,
entirely
not just
understand
that,
how it's popular.
It's Final Fantasy characters.
Well,
They have
yeah.
Final Fantasy characters, like there's Cloud and Sephiroth and Squall and all
Right,
those
yes,
guys.
yes.
Like there's loads of Final Fantasy characters in the game. So it's one of the, if not the biggest JRPG in the world, meets Disney, probably the biggest entertainment conglomerate in the entire world. So you can see what the appeal is. And I got into Kingdom Hearts for the first game, but I kind of fell off pretty hard. I will get back to them one day. Probably not yet.
Is that just a polite way of saying I'm a grumpy old
No, I just don't have the time.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I prefer quicker action-y games rather than the whole JRPG scene these days. But anywho, Kingdom Hearts hits its 20th anniversary and Celebrate Squeenix did a big old stream. I think it was a stream, video on YouTube, and went, "Hey, these are projects for Kingdom Hearts that we are bringing out." There was a final chapter of Kingdom Hearts Dark Road, which is coming out in August 2022 as a free update to Kingdom Hearts Union X Dark Road, the app, which I have no idea what that is. And as per all the Kingdom Hearts titles I have seen in the past, it's very confusing. There's also a new iOS Android game called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. That is going to feature 3D action, much similar to the mainline type of Kingdom Hearts game. And there's a closed beta coming later in 2022, but we don't have a release date for the actual game itself yet. And then the big one
Is the Missing Link Goofy? Because it's like Pluto, Goofy, Mickey. Is that how it goes?
Yes. If we look at Pete as like the Adonis of that kind of evolutionary chart, and Pluto as the beginning, Goofy is definitely in the middle somewhere.
Right.
Gorish. Anywho, Kingdom Hearts 4, we saw some footage, which looked like it was, it's teaser footage to announce the game. It was apparently all in Unreal Engine 4. Had a very more...
That's so last year, Unreal Engine 4.
It's 4 for the pre-development. It's apparently going to be released in Unreal Engine 5. So that's just the teaser stuff. It showed a much different looking type of style than we used to. And just to pre-emphasize, in the game, the character of Soria, the character you play as, they go into different films and different games and stuff, and they take on the appearance of those characters or something more similar to those worlds. So if, for instance, they go to Little Mermaid, they have a mer person body. If they go to the Pirates of the Caribbean, they look a little bit more realistic to keep in with the film, and Tron, they cyber people, all that kind of stuff. With this one, it looked a lot less like a Kingdom Hearts Sora and more like Sora had been put into the world of Final Fantasy, because they had a lot more realistic proportions, a lot more Final Fantasy anime type face. The big goofy type Mickey Mouse shoes are gone, and he's got regular trainers on. So I don't know if that's a world that he's been warped into, or if this is a new style for the game, but it was a much more kind of realistic looking character of Sora. Plus, they were in a very kind of real world Japanese looking type area, fighting one of the Heartless. So yeah, it looked cool, and it was just a quick
journey to PC world.
I don't. No one should journey there.
Yeah, seriously, that is. I mean, we were talking about purgatory earlier. That probably actually might be the personification of, not personification because it's not a person, but the embodiment, there we go, of purgatory. I
mean, PC world's all curries now, aren't they?
Yeah, I just actually hate going anywhere. It's like you just...
You're old, is what you're telling me.
It's like you go in there, and before you know it, they're trying to upsell you some kind of, oh, well, if you're going to buy this keyboard, you need to buy a screen cleaner because you'll be using it in front of a screen, and if you don't buy it, the world will end, or some stupid...
I like the upselling.
Do you?
Right, I bought a £20. Right, I bought a £20 DVD player once, and they tried to sell me a £4 1 year warranty extension, and I was like, no.
A guy in game once tried to sell me a strategy guide for Grand Theft Auto 4 and was upselling it to the point of he was trying to make out there's no way the game is even playable if you don't have the strategy guide, because they took the map out of the game. And then when I brought it home, I was like, there's a map in this game. He's a liar. I like the upselling, because I do like to sort of sit there and go, really? I need this, do I? I need the warranty.
Oh,
I'm gonna
yes.
drop this on the way out the door, am I? Yeah, okay. We'll see what goes on there, buddy. Yeah, Kingdom Hearts. We don't know what's going on with Kingdom Hearts 4 yet. There's no release date, platforms, anything at all. But it's coming at some point, and it's because it's Kingdom Hearts. It'll probably come in about 5 years.
How will I contain my excitement until then?
Well, you can do that by playing all the old games.
3 of those years are just being processed by Disney's legal department, basically.
I mean, you can play as Sora in Smash Brothers. That's basically the same thing, just without any of the Disney stuff. They took all that out. Also, we got news, and this is interesting. The reason this popped in the news is we've heard about PS Plus and kind of the deal. We know there's deals that go on to do with PS Plus, but we don't really know how people get paid, why they get paid. We've grilled Mike Bithell about this when he's been on the show, and he's not willing to let loose. Lorne Lanning, who is one of the guys from Oddworld Inhabitants, he's the founder of Oddworld Inhabitants. He's been on a podcast called the Xbox Expansion Pass, which he was there to, just be interviewed in general. But he was talking about the deal between Oddworld Soulstorm, which is the kind of semi-remake of Oddworld Abe's Exodus, but not, because it's more the sequel to the remake of Abe's Odyssey, which got a different name. I've completely forgotten what it was. Fresh and Tasty? New and Tasty?
Yes, I think that sounds about right.
One of those two, yeah. Anywho, that came out on the PlayStation 5 quite early after its launch. I think it launched in, November? And then the game came out in April the following year. And because it launched on PS Plus, it was a huge download because the PlayStation 5 didn't have many games out at that point. This was a brand new game coming to launching on PlayStation Plus. A lot of people downloaded it, even if they didn't play it.
Yeah.
So the reason this has popped up is Lorne Lanning has spoken on this podcast, and he was saying about the process of why they ended up going to PlayStation Plus, and the majority of this seems to be debt. They were building up a lot of money being spent on the cost of developing the game. The pandemic did not help them in the slightest. They needed help crossing the finish line. PlayStation approached them and said, look, you come to PlayStation Plus, we give you a one-time payout and all good. And then that caused problems for them because after the game got downloaded, something like, I've lost the quote here, I think it's something like 4 million times. So what they've written is that they might have sold 50,000 units at launch, maybe 100,000 units, but they got they got paid a flat rate before those downloads. So even though the money kind of dug them out of a hole of where they were, the amount of units that have been shifted on PlayStation 5 do not well reflect how much the game could have sold. I'd also argue that that doesn't reflect how well the game could have sold in that there are a lot of games that I just automatically download anything PlayStation Plus. The same with Games of Gold.
I have always wondered that it must be. I'm trying to think about how the economics of these programs must work from the developer point of view.
Well, can I jump in on that? Because I have a relevant...
Yeah, go for it. Because it's essentially my feeling is they're taking a bet on how many units they think they could sell if they weren't on it. But because presumably they're not going to get money for each one that's downloaded.
Right, the simple answer there is it entirely depends on what is negotiated. I spoke to a couple of indie developers, both like giving them the opportunity to talk off the record because I wanted to find out more information than they were possibly willing to tell me on it. But that's literally one of the things I did at WASD was speak to a couple of indie devs and ask them about the deals they get with PlayStation Plus. I think I spoke to one dev who had something on PlayStation Plus and one dev who had something on Game Pass. And literally both of them pretty much said the same thing, which is it like from what they've learned and what they've learned from other people in similar positions, it's entirely depending on what you negotiate with Sony or Microsoft as to what type of deal you get. Right. I was given a strong indication that there is not, as far as they are aware, there are not contracts that are that get a higher reward for the developer if the game is played more. I was under the impression there was possibly some contracts of that sort of nature. From the small kind of sample size that I just kind of got feedback from at the event, that seems to be not the case. There seems to be things that aren't tied to the number of hours played that your game gets played, basically. There doesn't seem to be something like that. I don't know if there is something tied to the number of downloads. That might be something different and something possibly easier to quantify or specify, and also something that doesn't rely on the type and style of game it is, like kind of thing. Like Unpacking, for example, I don't think has a lot of reasons for replay and isn't a very long game, but was quite highly regarded and a lot of people really took to it and really liked it. That doesn't necessarily mean it should earn more or less money than a game that is longer or has more replay value, possibly, like by the sounds of things.
I'd argue that they probably offer different deals depending who you are. You probably get a worse deal if you're an indie developer with a tiny game, and they could give you a flat rate, and then maybe if you were a bigger developer, go, okay, you get the flat rate plus if there's this many downloads or this many people played for this many hours, and you get a bonus on top of that.
Yeah.
But then if you were more like a Squeenix or an EA or I nearly said Activision. Well, yeah, Activision, I guess, because that's, even though that's Xbox now. If you're one of those bigger type of companies, then there probably is more of a we'll pay you per download or we pay you X amount of millions or something much higher.
Yeah, and you think like Square Enix probably gets a better deal for releasing Guardians of the Galaxy than a small indie developer, say the Unpacking People or someone of that ilk. Even if it's a game that does quite well, they will probably pay more money for a AAA game. But I think most people in the system understand that that's a factor and that probably works for all parties. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be, like, particularly for indie developers as that's who I was speaking to, and this is adding to the information that we've had from speaking to other indie developers in the past. But there doesn't seem to be any evidence that there's the more your game gets played, the more you get paid. That doesn't seem to be the deals that are generally on offer. But there does seem to be a general thing of, yes, it depends who you are and it depends what you negotiate. And I guess a small indie developer releasing a game for the first time will have to probably jump through a few more hoops to prove that, yes, this game is of a certain quality and it's, it's going to be worth you giving me this amount of money up front. Whereas a game that's already been released, like Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, that's a AAA game that's already of a certain quality, there's already an inherent value given to that game by the fact that it has been on shelves at a certain price. And so, yeah, I guess that makes it easier for someone like Square Enix to negotiate a higher fee. But yeah, it's still a matter of negotiation, it seems.
So I think in this instance, though, I mean, this is a thing you commonly see, and it's kind of linked to an economic principle called discounting. There's a certain point where if they give you enough now, that becomes more enticing than perhaps waiting for a longer payoff in the long run. And by the sounds of it, I think they had a number of, essentially they were getting to the point where they were finding it difficult to keep the lights on, for want of a better way of putting it. And having this offer of a big cash injection was too good to turn down. And unfortunately, probably the lawyers on Sony's side probably were aware of that fact. And were, the deal was very much going to be, if you want a load of money now, then you're going to have to sign away kind of continuing drip feeding of income on additional downloads, or at least not have as much down the road. So but it's economics, guys. It's fun.
But that's also a factor of dealing with Sony or Xbox when going on the Game Pass
or any
the
business,
PlayStation
actually.
Plus route, because the PlayStation Plus route does give anyone that downloads it access to downloading that game, and that's it. You own that game in perpetuity. Whereas the limited nature of Game Pass means that it's more likely to encourage more sales of the game once it gets taken off the service, if that is the case, and that is something that's happening with it. Again, having spoken to that dev at WASD, they literally said that I don't think it necessarily happened with their game, but with other games that they've spoken to other fellow developers about, they had done well from the sales of their game, even while their game was on the Xbox Game Pass platform, because it drives sales on other platforms at the same time as well. So, and drives sales of like DLC and microtransactions and everything else. So, yeah.
I would argue in this specific case where Lanning has, insinuated that because there was this many downloads, that's this many sales you would have lost. In the case of me, yes, you did lose a sale. I was totally willing to buy that game day one. I really was looking forward to this. But because it was on PlayStation Plus, didn't end up purchasing it. Why would I? It's on PlayStation Plus. However, I don't think the Oddworld name carries as much weight as it did in 1998 or whenever it was.
That is also true. But also, the game wasn't good enough to justify the 4 million downloads that it got through PlayStation Plus. Like, it only got that because it had access to that many people had access to it. It wasn't good enough to justify that many people. Like, the game wasn't up to the quality and standard that the games used to aspire to. And I just don't think it was as an enjoyable, well-made game. Like, I got halfway through it and went, I've kind of seen everything this game has to offer, I think, and I don't like the gameplay enough to persevere through playing it. Felt like a bit of a perseverance to persevere playing through it anymore. Like, I don't think he lost 4 million sales by this game coming out, because if it had come out and been reviewed before release, there's no way it would have got 4 million downloads.
I have to say that's actually quite a bit of a naive take on it. That essentially I should have got 4 million times whatever my per unit cut is. Actually, you did benefit from having the cash when you needed it, and that has an inherent value to it. But also, you've got to take the long-term view as well. A bit like Coleman says, true, there's probably quite a chunk of those downloads of those are just going to, screw it, I'll add it to my library and I'll play it at some point maybe. But there's also the fact that actually that's got their name out there as well 4 million times. You've had at least 4 million people actually be aware that your product exists, and that may pay dividends down the road too.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, though, it did launch on PlayStation Plus, and it did have a fair few technical issues when it first launched as well that have now been ironed out. But unfortunately, that's a first impression of that many downloads, which is a shame. It has since come out to other platforms, but I think the problem is with PlayStation Plus, and the same with Game Pass especially, is if you're not a AAA title coming out, a £70, £50 release, big thing, I think your game gets kind of tainted by these services and I'm not saying it's for everyone, but for me especially, and well, I know for the three of us, because we've all said it, when a game is going to come out and we're just not really up for picking it up day one, go, I might wait for it to come to PlayStation. Oh, that's got PlayStation Plus written all over it. I'll wait for that to come to Game Pass. And I think that's especially more with Xbox. I don't want to go down that route of Xbox guys don't buy games, because I bought a lot of Xbox games since Game Pass came out. But if there is a smaller game and you see it and you go, I hope that comes to Game Pass, and if it doesn't, I might forget about it.
But there's also the point, though, that, I mean, if I think about total should be Game of the Year contender, Tunic. I played that via Game Pass, and actually, in retrospect, I would have bought that game.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of, it's a 6, 1 1/2 dozen of the other. And, obviously, as Tim rightly says, that there are, in any business deal, no two business deals are alike. It's just, I think, obviously, the larger companies who provide this storefront do have much more bargaining power. And if you're an indie developer, there is the risk that you could kind of sell the farm for far less than it's worth without maybe realizing it at the time.
Yes, that is true. But then Tunic, for example, to counterpoint what you said about Tunic, you may have never tried Tunic if it wasn't for Game Pass. And that now may mean that you might double dip and buy it when it comes on Switch because you fancy playing on your Switch. It might mean that you'll buy DLC when that comes out for the game. And you might buy a sequel, and all because you got to play it on Game Pass in the first place. So, like you say, it does help discovery as well. So,
yeah, but by the time a Tunic 2 comes out, everything's going to be on streaming services anyway. So no one's going to buy anything anyway. In the same way, I haven't bought a physical
don't
media
start Tim off again
of a movie in a good probably 7 or 8 years now because of streaming services. Video games will go a very big danger of going the same way I feel in my awesome heart of hearts.
Where everyone has a streaming service and therefore no one can have a streaming service. But anyway,
Exactly. It's a big old Thanos gauntlet of Infinity Gauntlet of streaming services. Tim, you wrote down 3 different things, but we don't have time, so you could pick one of those things in what you can call basically news.
I'm going to go with the last one.
The last one.
Yes.
Basically news.
Basically
right.
news.
And what is the enigmatically titled last one?
Right. So Beamdog, which is a Beamdog Studios, which is led by a former BioWare co-founder, Trent Oster, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And they are looking to bring back Saturday morning cartoons with the power of Mythforce.
What?
And this, like, the Saturday morning cartoon thing is very, very much the kind of aesthetic they're going for and have really nailed. Like, this reminded me, and I want you two to go and have a look at it because it is a PC-based game for now. It's coming to Epic Game Store on April the 20th. I think it's an early access or whatever their equivalent is on Epic Game Store. So I won't be able to play it. I did ask the dev, and I did ask the dev about consoles. I'll come on to that in a second. But basically, it's, as I said, very much evoking the spirit of Saturday morning cartoons from back in the 80s and 90s. And it kind of very much reminded me of the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon a little bit.
Yes,
also reminded me of Defenders of the Earth and Visionaries. But with a kind of more the sort of Dungeons and Dragons theme, the kind of fantasy-based theme, kind of definitely reminded me of a Gauntlet-style game as well. But yeah, it's a roguelike, fantasy-based, first-person action combat game that you can play in single-player or, I believe, 4-player co-op. I haven't seen it being confirmed 4-player, but it did look like there was 4 characters in the trailer, basically. Also wanted to give this a shout out because it had been revealed by G4 TV, and Danny from Gamertag Radio was the one doing it. So, friend of the show that we've known for quite a few years is on G4 TV now, and this is one of his first big reveals. So I wanted to kind of put it out there, but I also thought it was a really good fit for our audience, and particularly of people of our vintage. But yeah, it just looks like a fun, silly game that, as I said, invoked those kind of early 80s, 90s cartoons. Pirates of Darkwater. That was the other thing that reminded me of anyway. But yeah, that kind of animation style that they've captured really well in the kind of game, and the kind of 4 players coming together to save the world type of thing. But yeah, it looks silly and fun, and I
much
did actually
like
reach
4
out.
characters coming together with their vibrating crystals to take down chaos.
Vibrating.
To be fair, it would distract chaos a fair bit.
Well, no, do not remember the 3 heroes initially, and then turns into 4. But they got the vibrating.
I didn't know there was a 4th hero in
which,
that. So
and they
is
they
the 4th
vibrate
hero
as they
Gwyneth
become
Paltrow?
closer together. Yes, and
you won't guess where she was keeping a vibrating crystal, mate.
They gotta fight chaos. They gotta fight chaos, guys.
Oh, that pesky chaos!
Guys,
no sign of chaos here. Just evil. I think they're fighting evil. Pretty sure that's the case.
Plain old
chaos
evil.
is evil.
I did reach
Not
out
necessarily.
to the
I would
developer.
argue chaos is neutral.
I did reach out to the developer on Twitter just when I saw the announcement because, as I said, it looked fun. I just wanted to know if this was coming to consoles. They said, I don't think we are talking about that yet. So that is a slightly non-committal, definite answer. But it does hopefully mean that
a non-committal, definite answer. What?
Yes. Anyway, right. I was being silly,
non-committal, but also definite.
Yes.
Tim reached out via Twitter, and they said, and I quote, "Shove it up your ass, Tim."
But anyway, so there's no sign of it yet, but they didn't rule it out at least, which is the main thing for me, because that probably means that they're concentrating on the PC release for now and then looking for other console launches in the future, hopefully. Again, hopefully this one comes to Game Pass, but if not, I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on it and possibly picking it up in the future. It just looks, like it kind of ticks a few of the right boxes for people of our age, basically. So, anyone else wants to go and check it out, that is Mythforce on and available from April the 20th on Epic Game Store. So go check that out.
I think that's it for this week. I think we've run out of time, so we need to move to our other bits section, which is, the miscellany of this podcast, but does contain some awesome little tidbits about some stuff, such as Charity Spotlight, Coleman.
Yeah, so our friends over at Special Effects, they aren't doing fundraising as such, but over on, if you play the popular footing ball title of FIFA 2022.
Never heard of it.
Well, it's
1922.
Quite a popular series.
I'd play it if it was 1922 football.
All kind of rumors going around.
Really good idea,
this might be the last time you could play a game of this series called FIFA, because it might be called like EA Football Club or something this year. So there you go.
I think I saw the name of that the other day. Anyway. Yeah.
The reason we're talking about Special Effect and FIFA 2022 is if you are one of those such players, available from now until the 18th of April, you have the chance to unlock a Special Effect football kit that looks very snazzy to use in FIFA Ultimate Team. So take a look in, if you're one of those players, go play FIFA 22 and take a look at the challenge available.
Yeah, I want to find out if you can buy the actual real life physical football shirts as well, the Special Effect ones, because they're quite snazzy. I quite like them. And if you can buy them and give some money to charity in the meantime, I might go and do that, I think. Yeah. And if they ever want to send us some, we'll quite happily send some money from Tim's account. And if you could make mine say Mambo and number 9 on it, I'd love that. Thank you.
If you could make it say Himbo number 9, though, I'd pay you more money.
I got a quick plug.
Yes.
Plug a thing for a friend.
What type of plug?
Our friend Andrew
Not that
Tanner.
kind of plug, Timothy.
Andrew Tanner over at Ring the Bell.
You can sit down with this one.
He has continued many episodes of the wrestling podcast Ring the Bell, and I was on their most recent one, which I spoke about briefly last week. we were playing a version of D&D called Swantons and Swerves, which was written by our friend Ed, who, if you don't know, he did the Choose Your Own podcast adventures, which we tend to do for like 100 episodes of BRB UK. So we played Swantons and Swerves, and we all had different invented character sheets that we had to bring up, like try and act out and stuff, and it was all very fun. So that's coming out soon. Ring the Bell podcast, wherever you can find it on your podcast feeds. I will spoil this by saying I played a version of Columbo that spoke like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
To be fair, that's probably playing to your strengths, to be honest, Colin.
I don't think it was meant to sound like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I was on a bit of a Stone Cold
But you made it
high.
like it anyway.
Exactly.
Fair enough. So
You
ring the
see,
bell. Ring the bell.
wife.
The podcast. Oh God. Yeah, my wife.
Just
Big
one
fan.
more thing. What?
Right.
A lot of that.
We are going to go before Coleman gets too excited. Thank you ever so much for listening. Make sure you go to www.BigRedBarel.com or Facebook.com/BigRedBarel or Twitter.com/BigRedBarel. All of those are places where you will find Big Red Barrel goodness. Or if you have no short-term memory, or like me, have no idea what our Discord link is, for example, you can find a link to that and all the other links that I've just mentioned in the show notes of this here show. So do make sure to have an explore and have a click, because it would be lovely to say hello to you through any of those mediums. So, yes, that's it. That's a show.
Give us
Episode.
questions, give us subjects, go to podcasts, go review our podcast, go to iTunes and Podchaser and Stitcher and Spotify and review us in all those places.
Yeah, did I
Yes.
hear right that you can now review things on Spotify? That wasn't
I think
a thing
so.
before?
Yes.
It is now? I
Think so.
So do that, please.
Think so.
if you can.
Why not?
That'd be a nice thing for you to do.
Try that if you can. Do it. Otherwise, please don't write on your monitor using a pen. And we can't see that.
I mean, you could do that and then take a photo of it and then send it to us on Twitter or something.
Hey, look,
If you
we'll
want.
talk about it. I can guarantee it if you do that. Anyway, we are going to go. That's been episode 486. That's in the bag, like the Pentium 2s of old, like the Pentium processors of old. Actually, that was technically a 586, not a 486, I'll have you know.
Coleman, can you punch yourself in the face again so we have a distraction from Dan's boringness? Good.
I didn't
Nice.
punch myself.
Wow, Tim.
Cut my lip with my fingernail.
Wow.
Well, like
Wow.
that. I'm not going to do it again. I'm going to put my finger like here. I went like that.
Oh yeah, you did what? You didn't punch yourself. You did the $1 million last week. Anyone
Right,
that didn't
we're
listen to
going.
the end of last week's show, go do that. It was funny.
Yeah. Or go watch it on YouTube as well, because then
Especially
you
fans
actually
of
see him punch
Coleman
himself in
in
the face.
pain.
Yes. Right, we're going to go. So thank you ever so much for listening to us. We're going to be, well, Tim and Coleman will be back next week. There's a good chance I won't be because I have to speak to a bunch of Americans at a time that suits them. And unfortunately,
Silly
the
thing
time
to
that
do,
suits
Dan.
the time that suits them is the time that often suits us to do a podcast. So
Dan's
if I'm
got
not
to do
here,
a TED Talk.
yes, I'm doing a TED Talk. What do you think my TED Talk would be? Actually, that's your homework for next week, listeners. I want suggestions on what, if I did a TED Talk, what that TED Talk would be. All right, go crazy.
So, searching for bongo mags in a forest.
Yes, exactly that. Exactly that.
Your TED
Right.
Talk
Sounding
would
a
be
bit
on
like
eating my
Jeremy
dust.
Clarkson.
Don't make.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Oh, Jesus.
eating my dust, a retrospective.
Now that's going to be the name. That's going to be the name of, if I ever get famous enough to warrant a biography.
You
that's
won't.
going to be the name. That's going to be the name of it. What's going to be?
Okay.
So there we go. All right,
Eating my
we're gonna
dust,
go now.
a Gibbons story.
True fact. Right. We're going to go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading us. All that really remains is for me to remind you that I have been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
I have been Coleman.
Yes, you have. 10 out of 10,
Yeah.
chaps. Congratulations.
Oh, and Chaos.
So,
I'm still Chaos. Never forget I'm Chaos.
yes, you are
Oh.
chaos. Yes. Look at you being all chaotic and stuff.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
You don't
that's
look like
exactly what
chaos.
chaos.
Oh,
that is
yes.
that's the embodiment of chaos. Is the Churchill nodding dog. Other insurance providers and dogs are available.
Oi, Churchill. He is an agent of Chaos.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad
yes.
we cleared that up, I think. Anyway, I'm going to go now. Have fun next week if I'm not here. And until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
Defenders of the Earth. You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcasts, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.
But I have a question.
Sorry, I just Dr. Evil myself in the lip really bad.
Yeah.
That's not a
can
thing,
confirm
Coleman.
It's $100,000 in 7 days. $100,000 in 7 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Million poker